Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Control+M Presents. This week, our Jenn Berry is going to be going through the UX Customer Print Documents functionality. Jenn is a rock star on our team who's been working with Plex for many years now. She's just the best on our team at configuring these shipping documents. And I don't mind telling you that I was super pumped about Jenn doing this presentation, and I learned a lot as she walked me through her drafts. This UX feature is just so cool. It's really worth considering converting to UX just for this. So without any further delay, take it away, Jenn.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending my session today. Today, we will be learning about the customer print document process in Plex UX. We will be discussing how to enable your documents, assign roles, scopes, exceptions, locales, and customizations for those documents. Today's lesson will include some general screenshots of each process, followed by a live demo of how to enable and assign these functionalities to your documents. This lesson will be recorded for you to view at any time on our instructional YouTube channel. The screenshots portion of this will take about 10 minutes, and after that, the live demo will take approximately 30 minutes. So, okay, well, let's just get started here. So in Plex UX, documents can be set up to print in a variety of modules. Today, we will be concentrating on these shipping documents. In order to see what documents you have available for use, you will want to navigate to the Print Document Setup Manager screen. This is where you will choose which documents and contexts you want to set up for your company. You can navigate to this screen by simply doing a search in your shortcut or by navigating through the menu path from Platform, System Setup, and Document Setup. When you do an open search, all the available documents will show, and from here you can choose which ones you want to enable by checking each box and then add. After you have chosen the documents to enable, you will need to choose which context you want to have these print to. The context will tell Plex where and when to print your document. Some options of these contexts are to print at your pre-print time or shipping time or your shipping history, as well as many other options depending on your process that you're currently setting up. Once you have turned on the documents and context that you want to use, you will then need to navigate to the Customer Print Document screen in order to assign specific context, rules, locales, and customizations for each of your enabled documents. And again, you can navigate to this screen by using your shortcut or menu path platforms.
Jenn, I accidentally muted you. Can you please unmute yourself? I'm sorry, I was trying to mute somebody else who was talking. Can you please unmute yourself?
Okay, I'm here.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Just start the slide over. I apologize.
Okay. An open search from this screen will show all documents. An open search from this screen will show all the documents that you have currently enabled. Otherwise, you can narrow down by filtering on a module or document name. In order to assign context, you will drill into the document that you want to set up and then click Add Context. You will then choose a context of where you want this document to print. I would recommend, for your shipping documents to have these print at each stage. So, you would choose pre-print, shipping, ship time, and the shipper history. That's best practice and my recommendation for that. So once you have assigned your contacts, you will now be able to see that at the bottom of your document detail screen, that they have all been assigned to that document. After you have assigned the context at which to print your document, you will then need to assign a rule to the context. Rules are assigned to your document by levels of company, customer, customer address, or PO. If you choose company, that means it's going to print for all shipments and all customers in your PCN. If you choose customer, it's going to print specifically, it's going to print documents specifically for your chosen customer. You can also you can narrow it down to customers' addresses. So if you only want certain documents to print at ship time for certain addresses, you can also assign a rule to that. You can also assign rules for specific customer purchase orders. So maybe some orders, you may not want to have all the documents. Maybe it's a sample order that may not need all the customary, maybe like certifications, and you can put an exception on that. You can also assign rules on buildings and suppliers. Buildings are for interplant shipments, and if you assign it to a supplier, it will be for general shipping. So you'll need to assign the rules on each of your contexts. So this takes place at the customer print document screen, where you will drill into the document context link of the document that you want to assign a rule to. You will click Add Rule, and then name your role and choose the rule's scope. The scope options are company, customer, and PO. Once you have assigned your rule, a green validation message will appear to let you know that the rule has been added, and then you can also see that rule at the bottom of your document screen. So now when we navigate back to the customer print document screen, you can see that the document now has an assigned context and a rule. So you're also able to assign exceptions to the rules. So they can be assigned also by the company, customer, address, PO, building, and supplier. The exceptions are assigned from the module record itself and not the customer print document screen. I will have more details in the live demo as to how this is achieved. So Plex has also enabled some documents to be configurable. In order to know if your document has this option, you will see the Include Document Options box will be checked. Otherwise, it is a frozen format and cannot be changed from this screen. Plex Locales. So you are able to assign locales to your documents. Locales are assigned at the rule level on your document. Locales can pull from the supplier, customer, or customer address. The field used is called dynamic printing locale. And locales define the language, date, time, and numerical formats based on country of assigned record. So what that means is if you have a shipment to Mexico, you can change the language on your printed documents to read in Spanish or whatever language that you have assigned. Your PCN will require the glossary to be established for that chosen language. And here you can see an example of a packing list, a before and after. So before it was configured, we had it in English, and then after I configured it, we have now in Spanish. So that was a quick rundown of what you're going to see in our live demo. And for our live demo, I will be setting up a packing list to print at the customer preprint, at the customer shipping preprint, ship, and ship history stages. We will also be assigning rules, exceptions, locales, and customizations on various other documents as well. So we're just going to jump right on in. So the first step you want to do is to navigate to your document setup manager, and that will be in the menu field, menu, system setup, and then document setup, or you can just use your shortcut up here to navigate there. So we will first go to our print document setup manager. And here I can do an open search here, and you will see all the documents that Plex has that can be enabled. There's a ton of them. But today we're going to concentrate on some of the shipping docs. So you can see here that I already have some enabled just to save time for our presentation here. You can see that the document is enabled and I already have it configured. But I have not enabled my standard packing list. So I want to look up my standard packing list. We're going to check it and add it. So now we have added, and you can see that now my standard packing list is enabled. We still have not configured it yet, but it is enabled, meaning it is now able to be configured for our PCN. So once you have all your documents enabled, you can go now and set up your company context. So your company context, again, is going to tell Plex where and when you want these documents to print. So I already have some set up here for our PCN. But if you have not set up your documents yet, you would need to check those ones that you want. If you're using truck shipping, you would need to make sure that your truck shipping flags are checked here. You have some options of interplant shipping and some general shipping. So you can choose the ones you want. Let's see, I'll just choose here, and then you can say okay. And now you have your context set up. So once these are set up, you shouldn't have to come back here unless you want to set up a new one that hasn't been flagged yet, or a new context that you may be needing that you haven't used yet. So now we will go to our customer print document screen, and this is where we're going to start customizing our documents that we have just enabled. So if you do an open search, you'll be able to see the list of documents that have been enabled for the PCN. So you can see here that I have certificate of conformance, USMCA, I have a general shipper, an interplant bill of lading, and our standard bill of lading, as well as the standard packing list that I just enabled. And you can see that I do not have any context or rules assigned to it yet. For my bill of lading and my certificate of conformance, I do have those already pre-configured to print for all customers for our PCN. You can see here for my general shipper, I have a supplier level rule that I will show you how that was applied a little later. So for now, our first thing we need to do is go ahead and configure our standard packing list. And I want to add a context to it. So I'm going to drill into the link of standard packing list. I'm going to add context. And you will be adding your context one at a time. So you can choose, I'm going to end up choosing all three of them. So you can choose. And now when we hit next, it's going to take me to the rule screen. So now I have my context, and now I need to assign my rule to it. So I'm going to assign the company rule. So my packing list will print for all customers. And then I can say, okay. And it's going to take me back to my document detail screen where you can see now my context has been assigned with my rule. So I can add another context. I'm going to do that for each one. I'm going to kind of zip through this a little bit. And you're going to assign the rule the same way, one each. And I'm going to add my next and last context and rule. So now when we go back to our customer print screen, you will see that my packing list is configured to print at the pre-print stage, the shipping stage, and the shipping history stage for all customers in our PCN. So now that we have our context and rules assigned, let's talk about some very specific rules. So I currently have 2 orders that need to be shipped out. So I have an order that's shipping to Florida and an order that's shipping to Mexico. So what I want for my orders going to Mexico, they're going to need the USMCA document. So I don't want that document to print for all my customers. I only want it to print for my customers who are shipping to Mexico. So this is where we're going to set up specific rules. So let's set up a specific rule just for that customer. We will drill into the context. We're going to add a rule. And I'm going to call it customer. And from here, my rule scope is not going to be company, it will be customer. When we hit next, it's going to say, okay, what customer do we want to assign the USMCA document to? You can pull in that customer. You can even be more specific and pull in an address. For this example, I'm just going to do it at the customer level because I know this customer only ships to Mexico. And I can say, okay. So now if I go back to my customer print screen, you can see that I now have a rule for my USMCA where at the pre-print stage, it's going to print the USMCA document just specifically for that one customer. I can go ahead and set those up also for my history and ship time. And I won't do that at this point for the training purposes, but you would do it the same way. Now, I also have my customer that is shipping to, my customer who is shipping to Florida. I do know that this customer has multiple ship tos, and one of those ship tos is to Mexico. So what I can do is once I have established the first rule, I can just, at this point, it will give you some links here, and I can go in and say, okay, I know I have some customers that have, I want this to print to for specific addresses. I can drill into that link, add, and then pull that customer in, and then pull that specific address in. And okay. So now we will, so now we can see that we have the USMCA document printing at my customer level and also at an address level. I want to show you a different way to do your rules for the same for the same options. So you can either create the rule here, or you can actually go to the customer record itself, drill into the customer record. My Taco Tuesday customer is the customer that has it at the customer level, not the address level, because he only ships to Mexico. So if you're assigning rules to the customer, you would do it at the customer level in the shipping documents. So now you see our certificate of origin is already checked for our preprint, which we just previously did. And I can say, oh, okay, I forgot to set up my rule. I can just set up my rules right from the screen by checking. I can say, okay. I can do that for my other customer. Let's get the other customer in here at the address level. So this customer has multiple addresses, and I can do the same thing at the address level by going into shipping and then the shipping documents. And again, check off the documents that you want this address to be able to print for shipping, for your shipping documents, and okay. And so now when we go back, it has auto created those rules from the customer record. So you have choices of doing it from the print document screen or from your customer screen. So there's your specific rules. You can also set rules on building and supplier. And we can go to that, to supplier. And let's set a rule by shipping documents. And let's say I want that supplier to get a general shipping BOL whenever something is shipped for them. Okay, and let's go back here, and you can see that we now have another rule for supplier. You can click in and it will tell you what suppliers that rule is assigned to. And you can also add more suppliers from this screen. So there's multiple ways of setting up your rules. So let's move on to exceptions. Exceptions to the rule, which are basically, you probably use these when you have a company-wide rule. And say, for instance, I'm going to use my customers who ship to Mexico. So I'm going to say, okay, my customers who ship to Mexico, they don't need a certificate of conformance for whatever reason. I need to make an exception because I don't want those customers to receive that document. So the exceptions are always done at the specific record. So if you're making an exception on a customer, it has to be done on the customer record, or the supplier, or the building, or the sales order record. The exceptions cannot be done from this screen. So let's go make an exception for our customers that are shipping to Mexico. Customers. So my cool customer who is shipping to Mexico and who has multiple addresses, I don't want that certificate of conformance being printed for Mexico, but I do want it printed for when it ships to Florida. So my exception is going to be on the address level in the shipping and shipping document tabs. And this is where, and if you can remember, where we checked the USMCA to make it a rule, we're now going to uncheck their certificate of conformance to make it an exception. And then we can go back to our Taco Tuesday customer who only ships to Mexico, and we can assign the exception at the customer level. And again, this is where we checked to create the rule. Now we will uncheck to create an exception. Now when we go to our customer print documents, you can see our exceptions to the company-wide rule. So the certificate of conformance is going to print for all customers in the PCN except the ones we just assigned. You can also make exceptions and rules at the sales order level. I'm going to quickly show you that. And that also is done by the shipping documents. So let's say, for instance, this specific order doesn't need a certificate of conformance just for this order. Any other order, yes, but for some reason, we don't want this to print for this order. We can make an exception on that order. And now we have an exception on that order. You can do the same thing at the building level and the supplier level by going to those respective modules and into the shipping document links. So now we have context rules, specific rules, and exceptions. Now let's talk about some customizations. So Plex has given us options on some of the documents to be able to customize them. Certificate of conformance. If you drill into that, into your document detail screen, you'll see includes document options. This box is not checked and the document options is grayed out. This means that you do not have an option. This is a frozen format and cannot be configured in any way from this screen. However, if we go into our bill of lading, you can see that it is checked and we do have document options. So let's drill into our document options for our bill of lading. And then you will get a list of all the different options that are configurable. You can turn these on, off by checking or unchecking them. So let's see, currently I wanted to check some of these that weren't checked. Serial number, let's do some serial numbers and tracking numbers. There's also a verbiage section here. The verbiage section pulls from the actual verbiage screen in Plex. Where you can assign verbiage to different kind of headers and footers and bodies of different documents in your system. This isn't all of them. I'm going to go off here for a second. If you wanted to see more and hit add, you have a whole list of verbiage that you can go through. But for now, I have a bill of lading disclaimer that I want to show on my bill of lading. So down in my verbiage section, I want to make sure that my bill of lading is checked. If I have any of these other verbiages set up, I want to make sure that they are unchecked so they don't print. You have shipper certifications and signatures down here. You can turn on and off signature lines if you need them or if you don't. You have a choice of using glossarized words. I would always recommend having these checked unless you do not for some reason on the bill of lading or whatever document you're configuring that you don't want to use that specific word. So let's say instead of item number, you want to call it part number. You can always glossarize specifically for specific documents. So we can hit OK. And now we have configured our bill of lading to how we want to see that. You can also change the name of your document from here. Just put something in there to show you how that's done. And then we can say OK. So now when our document prints, you will see those changes. And I'm going to do a whole full document print at the end of this demo to show you all to show you how everything that we've done here is going to roll out. So now we've done some customizations on our bill of lading. I believe the standard packing list also has some options that you can look at and enable. And you can turn just like the bill of lading, and you can turn some fields on and off. So now I want to go over locales. So I think this is one of the things here in the document setups that a lot of people aren't aware of. I actually wasn't aware of it until not too long ago, but when I found out how to use it, I was pretty happy about it. So you can choose, I'm going to do this on my, well, let's do standard. Sorry, I already have it set up there. Let's do our packing list. So I want to set up Locale for my shipments for my customers that are shipping to Mexico. So when their documents print out, they're going to print out in Spanish. So I just do want to make you guys aware that if you are going to use that functionality, that your glossary in Plex will need to be set up. So currently our glossary is set up for English and Spanish. If you have a language that you're not set up for, you will need to enter a case in for Plex to add that to your glossary. So if I change this to Spanish, and let's pull up just our shipping module, you can see how Plex has glossarized everything in Spanish for us. Oh, also, you will need to glossarize some terms yourself. And as you're testing your documents, just be sure to test them thoroughly. Because I did notice that some of the verbiage was not glossarized, and I had to go and glossarize that myself. So let's go back here and set up a locale for our standard packing list. Locales are done at the rule level. So we will drill into our rule, and you're going to choose your local source type, and we're going to choose our ship to locale, because this is where we want to pull the country from. We're pulling it from our ship to addresses. And then we say okay. And it's literally as simple as that. And then you would just do that for each of your rules. If you wanted on each rule. Some of the preprints, if you're just preprinting for your own purposes, you may not want to see that written in Spanish. You may only want to have the ship time print in Spanish. So you may only want to assign those at that level. So now that we have our locales all assigned, and I have already pre-assigned them to my other documents, we can go ahead and see what all of our functionalities that we have assigned, how they're going to look at shipping. So I currently have 2 orders. Let's reset this for preprint. So my order that I have shipping to Florida, I should only receive the packing list, the bill of lading, and their certificate of conformance for this customer. I should not be seeing this in Spanish, and I should not be seeing a USMCA. So let's do a preprint. And here is our bill of lading, where I glossarized, or I renamed the bill of lading for test. I had some serial numbers pulled in, and I had my verbiage pulled in. So there's our bill of lading. There's our packing list. And my certificate. Did I turn my certificate of conformance off? I think I did. Let me go back and check that real quick. Let's check my shipping documents and see where I made certificate of conformance is at the company level. Let me check my addresses. I'm just wondering why this didn't print. Oh, print. Well, you guys got me on that one. After all this testing, and now it doesn't want to print. Let's see. Let's check this one more time. Oh, I know what I did. I bet you I turned it off at my order level. I did. There you go. So see, I was wondering why that certificate of conformance wasn't printing. So I did. I had turned that off at the sales order level for my example. I'm going to turn it back on. Go back to my shipping. And now let's do a preprint. My bill of lading. My certificate of conformance. There you go. And my packing list. Now, for our shipment going to Mexico, I should be receiving the bill of lading, the packing list, and that USMCA document. The USMCA document, I do not believe will glossarize to Spanish, but the packing list and the bill of lading should. So let's do a preprint. There's our bill of lading. And like I said, you can see some verbiage here is not glossarized in Spanish, where you will have to go in and do that yourselves, but you can see that there's other terms that are glossarized. And you can see the glossarized for descriptions here, but under here, the glossarization has not been done yet. And I did want to keep these different just so you can see that it is needed to be done if you want the entire document to be glossarized. Let's see. There's our packing list, which will be glossarized in Spanish also. And there's our USMCA document. So that's how everything has worked out with all of our rules, exceptions, and contexts, and how to set everything up. So I think that is going to conclude my demo for the day. And I think we can move on to some questions.
Great job, Jen. Hey, I want to remind everybody to unmute yourself for questions. And everybody, please remember that sometimes answering specific questions requires us to actually see your PCN or your shipping document screen. So Jen's going to do her best job to answer these blind, but she might have to reach out to you directly to answer some questions. So Jen, let's shoot back. Bill Brussman, I'm going to go answer yours real quick. Invoices in Spanish. That's not a shipping document, so we wouldn't cover that today. But if you want to hit me up, I think I might be able to help you with that. It's possible. Okay, Jen, first question of the day. Is there a way to preview the documents so that you have a guess of what they are? I know what I would do. I would probably just set them all up and test and hit run, but
Yeah, and I think basically that's what you have to do is just to test each one to see what it actually looks like and if it can be configurable.
LB, you can also hit us up too. The chances are pretty good. We've seen it with another customer. We might be able to anonymize a document and send it to you.
Okay.
Next question, is there any guess why add context might be grayed out?
Add context grayed out.
I email.
Could be a hard-coded document, I think, that you enable. There's no context that you need to add to it. I think there are some documents in there that are like that. I have not worked with them personally, but I would find some more information out about that.
So Albie, if you're still on, if you can maybe send us an example of the document where add context is grayed out in your PCN, and maybe Jen can take a peek at it and email you.
Will do.
Heidi from Stecker says, if we set this up in UX, would these documents and rules apply to Classic?
No.
I wouldn't think they would either.
No, this is totally separate from Classic.
Okay, 2 more questions in the chat. What is the best way to set up a document for all customers except one, with one customer being different? Would that be exceptions?
That would be exception. Wait a minute. You want to set up for all customers except one?
Yes.
That would be the exception.
I feel like Lisa asked that question about 30 seconds before you started showing exceptions.
Okay.
Albie said, is there a way to see what the exceptions are? Because he doesn't see a he doesn't see a hyperlink.
I know. No, it's a little frustrating that you can't see that. I think the only thing is if a document isn't printing that you think should, you would just go to that customer or to that record, whether it was a supplier, customer, or building, and see and go into the shipping document link and see how that setup is, because that's going to tell you if there's an exception on it or not.
That's a great question. That may be something that you want to throw out in the community as a new idea. And if you do that, and guys, anytime you put an idea in the community, if you want my team to vote it up, hit one of us up, because we quite often share good ideas that we see in the community and say, hey, everybody, vote this up and do what you can. So any other questions from the gallery here?
So I just want to step in real quick. So back to that last question about the exception. So that was kind of like where I was like, oh, my certificate of conformance isn't working. What's going on? Why isn't it printing? So I actually had to kind of troubleshoot it in my head. Okay, did I do something at the customer level or the customer address? And then I checked the actual sales order. So I had to kind of troubleshoot that in my head real quickly to figure out what did I do. And then I realized, oh, I made an exception at the sales order level. So that's the only way that I think you would be able to know what the exception is, because there's no link in there. Is just if something's not working, you have to investigate what those exceptions are.
I'm glad you got a little chance to show folks your how you troubleshoot too, because there really is a process to that, and it's never bad to see someone else do it. Any other questions? Bill wants to know, does anybody print the same packing list in both languages? By that, I'm sure you mean anybody other than Jen or I, right? You're looking for anyone else on the call? Bill, are you shy? I mean, you were the community spotlight guy for a month. You can't be shy.
Community big mouth. I'm not shy anymore. I used to be. This is a really amazing feature and a very interesting and helpful presentation. I've worked with this thing before a long time ago, and it's tricky, so this really helps a lot. But I'm asking, does anybody print both Spanish and English?
At the same time?
Yeah.
Oh,
If you want us to do some testing to see if that's possible and get back to you, Bill, let us know.
Well,
yeah,
I think it's,
would you need it at the same time? Because what I'm thinking is where, I was talking about how, at ship time, because you're going to be printing your customers' documents at ship time, you would print it in Spanish. But if you wanted to pre-print, you wouldn't set up that locale. You would just have it strictly print in English. So if you're pre-printing, you can have them in English, but if you're shipping, they can print in Spanish.
right. And I think the trick to do that is to just set up two different documents and call them packing lists, English, packing list, Spanish, and then print them out. A thing with Plex that's also a little bit tricky is when we clock out shipments, it prints out on the screen various documents, bill of lading and packing slip. Some of them, if they're EDI, it'll say transmitting. So although I'm tempted to block that printing, I don't know if that would also block sending that EDI for those certain customers. That's kind of a tangential thing.
Yeah, that's I'm not an EDI expert. We have one here that maybe we could get her to get with you. I'm thinking it may stop that transmission too if you stop the print.
Right. It's not really a problem. It's just a curious thing. Why is this showing this stuff again? And some of them are sending emails as part of it.
Yeah. Okay. I can.
Yeah, Bill, give Jen a call. She can connect you up with our EDI expert. I can barely spell it, so I wouldn't be any help on that.
I'm putting her in my contact list.
All right. Look at that, Jen.
Okay.
Well, Jen, as per usual, you did a great job on this presentation. Honestly, guys, when I first started working with this module, I got overwhelmed by all the new terms like, context, rules, and locales. One of the things I love about Plex is there's always something new to learn. And one of the things I love about the Control+M team is that there's always somebody here who knows the function and can teach me. So we're going to take a few weeks off to prepare for PowerPlex 2021. If you didn't know already, it's going to be virtual and free again this year. So go out to powerplex.com to register now. We're going to be doing a ton of presentations again this year, and we do need to step back to focus on those for a little while. So watch your emails for our next session. We might be able to squeeze in one or two before the show, and then we're going to start doing them regularly again right after the show. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel where you can find copies of all 30 plus sessions that we've had in the last year. Yep, we've been doing this for a year now. Plus, we started having Ignacio in our Mexico office translate our videos into Spanish. So share the news about this, and if you know somebody who wants to be added to our list, email Jill, who's the person that you emailed to register for this class. And while you're checking out our videos, please take a few seconds to give us a thumbs up if you have time, because we love getting your kudos. As always, everybody, thank you for giving us your time today. We really do appreciate you being here, and we're very glad to be able to share our Plex knowledge with you. So thank you again, Jen, and enjoy your day, everybody, and stay healthy.